Hi, and welcome back to Wildman Wheels. Last week, we kind of dug into the rocker panels up there and realized we opened a can of worms. While we're waiting for parts for that guy, so we can fix this side and the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and dive in to the other two things that we need to fix. We got our corner caps here. The Scout to me looks like it had some kind of rear end collision. Both corner caps are pretty beat up. They're pretty dented, and you can see there's quite a bit of effort put into straightening them, right? And I have brand new corner caps for this thing, so let's just put them in. The only thing is, I don't know, is it possible to replace a corner cap without taking the quarter panel off? Technically, the correct way to do that would be to remove the entire quarter panel, and the corner cap comes with the quarter panel, and then you can separate the two, and then you can install the new quarter cap and then put it all back on. But I think we can do it without taking off the quarter panel, and we're gonna try. So wish me luck. I hope this works. If it does, then maybe you guys will now be able to say like, hey, we can actually do something like this without taking the entire thing apart. The quarter caps are not ridiculously expensive. So if you need to get a new one or a couple of them, it's not going to break the bank. And it's just, you know, some blood, sweat, and tears to get in here and take it off. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the first thing that I'm going to need to do before I actually take these guys off, I'm gonna remove the tailgate, I'm gonna remove the rear bumper. Just get both of those guys out of the way. All right, so let's take a little bit closer look at this and kind of look at the anatomy, if you will. We're gonna have some spot welds that run all the way down here. Here's where the bolts were that holds the tailgate on. And if you can see, there's actually a cutout right there in the corner cap. And if we look at the new one, it has the same cutouts. And then it comes down to here. And if we look right underneath here, the rear quarter kind of seams into the corner cap back here, and it's got a couple spot welds here, probably 2 or 3 kind of holding it on there. This is my plan. This is how I think I'm gonna attempt it. And like I said, watch me. If it works, do what I do. If it doesn't work, now you know what not to do. So what I'm gonna be doing, this is how I'm gonna go about it. I'm gonna cut on this side of the seam. I'm gonna probably give myself 1/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go get a scribe, and I'm gonna use like calipers. I'm gonna scribe a line into this, probably about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more, off of that, and that's where I'm gonna cut it all the way down. Now these spot welds underneath here, I'll drill those spot welds out, and then I'll probably make this cut. So I'll do that first, do this second, and then if I need to, I'll be able to come in here and cut / grind anything up here that might be welded. It doesn't look like it's welded. Looks like it just kind of sits there. Then after that, then I'll come through, we'll cut out all the spot welds down to here. Then at that point in time, we should be able to remove the outer quarter cap. Then what I'm gonna do, this is the wrong side, this is the one for this side, but then what I'm gonna do is I'll take this new corner cap and I'll probably cut from like right up here in this kind of general area and take 1/8 of an inch off of this one as well. Then I should, in theory, be able to fit that together, do some grinding, some sanding, whatever we got to do to make sure this gap ends up about right. Get it all aligned, and then we're going to weld this outside seam first. So we have our, where we need it to be to line up with the fender properly. Once we have that, then we should be able to come in here and weld it all the way along there. And I don't have a spot welder, so I'll be doing the old drill it, put a hole in it, and then plug welding all the way down and on the underneath side, and then come through and grind them down smooth so you don't see them. So now you know what I'm going to attempt. So I guess let's go ahead and just attempt it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to mark a line on the corner cap where I'm going to cut. So I just want to make sure we don't have any Bondo or anything in here that's going to get in the way of the calipers. I'm just going to hook it on the inside of this, and we're just going straight down. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take my calipers. I'm going to set them for 1/8 of an inch. 125 on the calipers. That should be enough. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. It's very close. I'm going to move it out to 150. You know what I think I'm going to do? Let's make this easy on ourselves. Let's try a Sharpie. Oh yeah, you can see that totally good. Okay. It's not much of a line, right? But it's a something. Let me color this in with a Sharpie, and then we'll be back in just a second. All right, so if you look closely, you can see it's a very fine line, but it's very consistent all the way down the panel. So that it should, as long as I'm carefuling while I cut, we should have a very uniform, consistent, all the way down, cut all the way down. So I did go ahead and get these guys drilled out. So this down here is free from the corner cap. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut here all the way down to right here where the seam ends on the corner cap and where this little flap that goes underneath the fender begins. So I'm going to cut from there all the way up here to the top, and then we'll drill those guys out, and it should come right off. All right, so I wanted to just stop right here real quick in the middle, and you can see where I'm cutting. I'm making sure that the cutting wheel is on the outside of the line. See where it's just right on the edge. I want to leave this full amount of metal. As you can see, there is a little bit of a burr, and I'll probably end up coming back through here with a little flapper wheel and cleaning this up and squaring this up anyway. But I'm trying to take my time, nice and slow. We're not trying to break land speed records here, so take your time, nice and easy. we got movement. So this should very easily, as soon as we get these guys drilled out over here, there's only 7 spot welds along the inside of this. I should have her just popped right off. So if you've never used one of these tools before, so I just have a regular punch. I'm gonna do my best to make sure that punch is exactly dead center as humanly possible. If you have one of those little push type, that's probably a little easier, but that's all we gotta do. We just gotta put a little divot. Nice little divot. Got our little fancy tool. I have it on number 1, not number 2. Wide open throttle. Put the tip of the tool into your little dimple that you just made. About halfway through, maybe 3/4 of the way. Whoop. You don't want to push on it too hard, it'll bite and it'll start kicking out like you saw right there. When you get all the way through, you'll actually see a little line. So we're not quite all the way through. I think we're absolutely through that one. Here's a little bit of a close-up so you can see the spring action of that little on the end. Oh, we got a little greedy, and that's what happens. Look at that. Nice and easy. Okay, I can see, you might not be able to see it, but I can actually see a line beginning to develop right here on the top, which means we're cut all the way through on the top, but I don't see that line down here on the bottom. So now I'm gonna just slowly, gently work. Instead of having the tool kind of more of an upward position like this, I'm gonna kind of have it more, I'm exaggerating my movements a lot for you so you can see in the camera, but I'm gonna start working the bottom of it. I can see that that line has worked its way all the way down to about here, and then it kind of starts from here and goes up. So I just have this little corner kind of right in this area. Do a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Look at that. Just see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just popped right clean off. Okay, let me take the old flapper wheel and we'll knock these guys here real quick. I could probably do this one. I don't know, but you can see the tool works great, and you can see it's actually getting to be very loose, which is good. That means we're getting very close. Look how much that's moving. I'm excited. I'm also scared to death right now. Yes, I'm scared. So this guy's free. I don't think this one's totally free. Nope, not yet. It's very close. We can just kind of cut our way through that one. So it is right there. Okay. Let me get this guy. We should be pretty much ready to come off. Okay, what are you still holding on to? Something. Oh, there's one right there. Okay. Boom shakalaka. Okay. So this middle tab right here is somewhere in here. Oh, I think I feel it. Yeah. Yep, I feel it right there. Right there. You guys see it? That's the last one. Look at this thing. She's ready to come off. Is there another one? There's another one right there. Let's grind that guy down. So there's two side by side right there, but there's nothing up here, nothing down here. Okay, that one I'm going to use the angle grinder. There she goes. All right, are we ready? There she is. There's the old corner. We got her off. All right, check this out. I mean, look at all of this. No rust. No destruction. It's looking really good in here. I mean, it's a lot of dirt. One of the other things I noticed as well as cutting this out, the fender didn't, there's no real like flex or anything going on with the fender. So you can see here now how the corner cap welds onto the fender. And this is what I was trying to leave. I want to leave this alone. And I have this nice little 1/8 of an inch, right? I'm going to need to clean that up with the flapper wheel and then get inside of here because we do have some burrs going on the inside here. I think it just might work. I'm really excited. This is going well for the first time. Here's the new corner cap. It's got this little lip right up here. So it's got this little lip right up here that's going to hook onto that and hook onto that. But we can kind of poke the light bulbs back inside. We can kind of almost like set it up there a little bit. And yeah, look at that. Psst. So they do from the factory, it usually tears when they're stamping it right in this corner. And so they put a little gusset plate in here and then they kind of hammered it down smooth and then put a little Bondo in here. This is really old Bondo. As you can see, it's already kind of cracking and chipping out. So I'll grind all of this out, make sure this is all, you know, as square and straight as we can make it. Make sure it looks as good as possible. And then we could put another little patch of Bondo in there, just kind of fill in the cracks or the tear or whatever's kind of going on up here. But that, my friends, brand new corner cap, and it basically already fits on there. I mean, basically. That's where we're at. I'm so excited. We're making great progress with this. So there you go. There you go. If you got any questions, comments, drop them down below. All right, we are back. Round 2. Okay, so today I want to start off explaining. We're going to explain some things. We have a burr on here, obviously, because we cut it with a cutoff wheel. We need to remove the burr. Do not use a flap wheel to cut off, to take that burr off. It's quick, it's fast, it's the easy thing to do. Yes, I agree, but we're going to be running into a situation with that. A lot of people get really nervous when they start welding sheet metal, thin sheet metal together, because we're just going to blow holes through it. Well, you're not if you weld it properly. You just turn the heat down. Just turn it down. My welder actually has a chart on the, you flip the lid up and I'm going to be welding 18 gauge, and it tells you put it at this many volts and this wire, inches, wire, your inches per minute wire feed, right? That gives you like a beginning, and then you kind of tune it back and forth a little bit, find your little happy spot, and then you're good to go, right? So that you shouldn't blow through it. That shouldn't happen, right? But what can happen, this is why you might have a lot of blow through and burning holes and things are difficult for you. And I'll explain to you. When you weld two thicker pieces of metal together, let's say, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8, 1/2 inch plate, two pieces of metal together, and you do what's called a butt weld, where you're just taking two flat pieces of metal and you're welding them together. You're running a seam. That's what we're doing right here. We're going to be doing a butt weld. A lap joint would be if you take two pieces of metal and you lay them on top of each other, overlap a little bit, and then you weld it along the seam. That would be a lap joint. Those are a lot more difficult to blow through. You got a nice solid material here. You got a nice solid material here. It's actually twice as thick as your actual material is, and so you're welding to something that's twice as thick as opposed to something that's just 1 times as thick. So it's a little bit easier to weld. We're going to be doing a butt joint right along here because we want there to be no seam. We want this to be smooth. I want anybody that looks at this in the future to say, that's the original corner cap. Or if it's not the original corner cap, whoever did it did a good job. You want people to just look at it and just not notice it. It's basically, right? And I'd like for this to be nicer than a 20-foot truck. From 20 feet away, it looks good. But I'd like to have a nice enough truck here. You can go to a car show and people can walk around it and it looks good, right? We're trying to do a good job here, right? Make it look good. So in order to do that, when you weld generally thicker pieces of metal together, you're doing a butt joint, what you'll do is you'll bevel the two edges. So instead of the edges sitting like this, you'll cut 45-degree angles into them, at least halfway through the thickness of the material, maybe even 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the material, depending on how thick it is and how hot your welder can get. And what you're doing is, by doing that, you're allowing yourself to get a bead down in the very bottom to help the heat from the welder to penetrate through the remaining thickness of the metal. And then you can come back and put a second pass and a third pass and fourth pass and however many passes you need in order to fill that bevel all the way in to the top. Then you can grind it down flat, and now you have a full weld that's penetrated all the way through the material, and those two plates are now one plate. We're going to be doing that with this. The difference is very thin material. This is, 18 gauge, maybe 20 gauge. I have to measure it and do math, medicinals to figure out what the gauge of this is. We'll figure that out before we actually pull the welder out, because we're going to need to know what to set our welder to before we really get started. But with that being said, we don't want there to be a bevel on this, because if it's flat here, beveled here, flat, beveled, more beveled, less beveled, you see what's going to happen is you're going to tack weld here and here. It's going to start going great. Then you're going to hit a spot where it's beveled. And basically what you've done is you've made the metal thinner in that one spot, and now it blows through. And we got this little small joint we're working with. This is getting a little bit nerve-wracking. And so now you're going to sit there and you're going to try to tack and work your way around and fill that back in and get that filled back in. And then the hole kind of just keeps blowing because now you're trying to tack it real quick. So you're like, oh no, I messed up. I got to keep tacking that. And the metal's too hot. And so you keep blowing through and you make the hole bigger. If it blows through, stop, move on. That area needs to cool down. Like, touch it with my hands, cool down before you try to go back and fill that hole in. And we're going to prevent that. So I'm not going to be using a flap wheel in order to remove this burr. I'm going to be using a file. Now, some of you might be thinking, if files suck, you go to file something, it takes you 45 years to file anything. No, files don't suck, your file sucks. A good file, this will be done in like 4 seconds. If you can't file something and physically see metal shavings come off, then your file's junk. Go get a new file. But we're gonna do a file, and I'm gonna take extra special care and attention to make sure I keep the file flat. I don't want the file to end up in an angle because now I'm just putting a bevel on it. And the reason I'm not using the flap wheel is it's very easy to just, and you end up with bevels all the way down this thing, and now it's a nightmare to weld. So we're gonna spend 30 seconds, use a file instead of 5 seconds with a flapper wheel before we move on to the next step. Let's get this thing prepped, let's get it marked up, and let's get this cut, and then we're gonna start fitting this piece onto there. And then we'll start welding it. It's that simple. It's gonna look like that. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, so I did the same thing to this one as I did to that one, Sharpied, and then used my calipers to just mark a nice line. You can see it, the reflection of it there, all the way down. Kind of see it right there. Now, the one thing I'm going to be doing, and I'll stop and I'll show you this one I'm actually doing. If you remember when I was cutting the fender out here, on the line, I made sure that the cutoff wheel was on this side of the line because I want the line to be left on the vehicle. I want you to be able to very carefully look and see that line still there. On this one, I'm going to be cutting on this side of the line. I want to be able to leave the line on here. I want to leave as much material on this side, and on that one, I want to leave as much material on that side as possible. I want this to be too thick. I want to have to come in here and grind and sand and to get this thing to fit onto that properly. So when I'm cutting it on here, cut on that side of the line. When you're cutting it on here, cut on that side of the line. Right, so if you look closely, you can actually see the line right there. That's not the cut. The cut's right here. You can see how I stayed on this side of the line. Now I got close, and if you actually look up here, I actually got even further away from the line right here, but that's okay. It's a pretty straight cut, if you ask me. I think we're gonna be pretty dang close. Now, the other thing I'm gonna do, right, we have a burr. I'm gonna take the file, I'm gonna remove the burr, and then we're gonna start test fitting this. Okay, here we go. First test fit, I didn't try this before. This is literally, I just took the edge off of the file. We're gonna see. Now I know up here, I'm probably gonna have to do a little, yeah, we're gonna have to trim that. And this is where we're gonna begin the fitting, which means wherever you think you need to cut, cut less. You can always cut more, it's a little bit more difficult to put it back. I'm telling you, I think when we get that bad boy welded in there, you're not going to be able to tell. You're not going to be able to tell. That old girl's got a brand spanking new corner cap. Man, that is freaking awesome. It looks so good. I mean, look at it. I mean, obviously you can, look at that. Look at that. Look at it. Get her now while we can. Okay. Sounds like there's 2 balls in there. So I heard Larry there in the back asking, what the heck is weld-through primer? Well, it's basically zinc in liquid form. That's what it's all it is. It's zinc. Like I said before, it's literally zinc. Powdered zinc in a can, you spray it on there, the zinc sticks to the metal, and then what happens is when you weld it, the zinc melts. But then it just stays there, and it creates like a zinc interface between the 2 pieces of metal and keeps it from rusting in the future. You know, galvanized steel or zinc plated steel doesn't rust. You're zinc plating this. Now, I don't know if I can just spray the whole inside of this thing and that's okay or not. I don't know. Did I put it on wrong? Probably. As long as I got it between this surface and the other, the surface that it goes on, and those are, I think that's actually where it's supposed to be. So you'd want to just paint it like on this seam and this seam, and then you weld them together, and then regular paint everywhere else. I don't know. Okay, I think it's fine. I mean, it's not coming off, so it's like not even coming off on my finger. So is it an actual paint? Sure. We're gonna go with that. All right, we're back. It's only been a month. I literally just checked. The part of the video you just watched, I filmed August 14th, and it is currently September 19th. I got absolutely destroyed at work for like the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I was working like 75-hour weeks. I couldn't. It was just too much life going on. But we're back. We're back today. It's only been a month. So those of you guys, I apologize, but we're back. Okay, so this is where we left off. Corner cap. We got the old one cut off. We got the new one prepped. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come through. I'm going to drill out holes all along here. We're drilling it out. 1/4 inch holes. In approximate locations. Are they exact? Nope. Do I care? Also nope. Is it going to stay on there permanently forever? Yep. That's all that really matters. So, as you can see, 1/4 inch, just little 1/4 inch holes. I probably put more on there than there was their factory. Okay. Is it going to rattle off? No, it's not. That's all I really care about. Okay, so I ground all of the spot welds flat. We want those to be pretty flat. We don't want any of those to stick out, because then you'll end up with a little bump. Okay, that stuff stinks. Perfect. So let's do a quick test fit. Just one last double check. Oh yeah, perfect. I can get to those. Okay, so the most important thing that we can do at this point in time, we're gonna be welding. That's gonna be the next thing. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna take this piece of metal here, which is what we cut off of that corner cap, and I'm gonna be taking this corner cap, which is the original. I'm gonna be setting these two together, like so, and then I'm gonna be tacking these together with the welder to kind of get a feel for and get the welder tuned in to the right, horsepower settings. We don't want to get in here and on the actual truck then try to tune it in. Probably going to run into issues with that. I'm going to go with 16 gauge. Let's start at 16, and if it blows through at 16, then we'll go change it down to 18. Okay, so 16 gauge. I'm running 035 flex core wire. So we got over here flex core, okay, mild steel, solid core, flex cord right here, 16 gauge. It's 035 wire speed. It's saying 120 voltage, 14.5. Okay. That's a good weld. I think that looks really good. I really like that. Oh yeah, that's beautiful penetration. Okay, so if you look closely here, you can see, like especially right in here, but we do have a big dent right here, so it does dip down, but like right here, we do have a nice, perfectly lined up seam right here. See how the weld is just slightly proud? It sticks up. It doesn't stick down. I like that. That means we have material we can grind off, and we can make that seam completely disappear. Got a little spot up here. It's kind of a crappy weld. We blew through right here, but then look at all these. We didn't blow through a single one of them. And like I said, we have this, there's a dent right here, so this is, you can see the edge of it, but then you get like, I also, like I said, I didn't get real crazy with lining it up. It's perfectly lined up right here, and it's perfectly lined up like right in here. Look at these guys. They're all just barely proud, but see how the weld looks the same on the back as it does on the front, right there. See how it looks the same, front, back. That means we got full penetration. That means the metal, and penetration just means the metal back here melted all the way through. It's melted back here, and it's melted right here. That means this, all of this metal right here is now one homogeneous piece of metal between this piece and this piece. So that makes me very happy. I think that's a really good setting, and I literally just went off the chart on the side of the welder. I didn't finagle with it at all. Okay, so here we are. Now, as you can see, this thing can move around quite a bit, but also the actual quarter panel can move around a lot also. I'm gonna use that to my advantage. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start right up here at the very top. Okay, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna flex this until both of these seams are exactly perfect, and I'm gonna tack it. And I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna tack it, right? I'll get it right where I want it, tack it, get it right where I want it, tack it, okay? Then I'll be able to come in here and I'll be able to move either the corner cap back and forth or the fender back and forth until I can get the very next spot exactly where I want it, tack it, and then move down a little bit and flex the two together, right? Bend and move and flex until I want it right where I want it, tack it. And I'm gonna do that all the way down. Once I've got it tacked all the way down, and I'm gonna try to do these, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch away from each other, like tack here, attack here, attack here, attack here, right? Kind of almost like I was doing like right in here. Then I'll go ahead and weld the bottom of the fender, where the fender wraps around underneath to this bottom section of the corner cap. Then I'll weld this right here. We already have a couple holes from when we drilled these out. The holes are in the quarter panel, and so we'll just weld those up. Then once those are welded, then at that point in time, this corner cap is locked into the shape. Any which way I move it at that point in time, it's gonna cause the fender to also move with the corner cap. Now I can pull it over, push it in, make sure it's exactly where it needs to be, and then weld it this way into the body. That's how I'm gonna attack this. So let's see how it works.
This week's Bible verse, Psalms 144, verse 1. Praise the Lord, who is my rock. He trains my hands for war and gives my fingers skill for battle. You know, when I was getting ready to start welding this corner cap on, I was praying that to the Lord. Please let this turn out. And sure enough, it did.
All right, boys, ladies and gentle boys, look at that. Yeah, we had a couple blow-throughs. That's okay. Don't panic. That's easy to fix. Look at this. We had a little bit of a gap right there. That's a little bit of a pain, but look at that. And this is like, so this is the thing. I don't know if you noticed, but taking the helmet off and looking and adjusting and tweaking and then tacking, take your time. This is where you take your time, because from this point forward, we're just going to go tack, 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 right? We're just going to just weld this thing up. Well, we don't have to mess with anything now. We can just take our time and start filling in all the gaps, basically. Now we can go fast. Before, we had to take our time. I spent about 25 minutes just making a little tack, making an adjustment, make a tack, make an adjustment, right? But because I took the time to make sure that these seams, I mean, I don't know if you can see, but these guys are perfectly flush. One is not higher than the other all the way down. When we get done with this and we sand all this down, you're not going to be able to tell that this is new. That's the whole point. No Bondo. Take your time. Do a good job. No Bondo. That actually, I mean, I couldn't be happier. It's welded on there. Now we just got to grind these welds, and they're all really proud, which is what I like. That's what I want. I want all the welds to be really proud, so I can come through and I can grind these all down nice and flush. Same thing with these guys in here, the plug welds. I'll be able to grind all those guys down flush. And then when we paint over all this, you'll never even know. And that's kind of the whole point. Like, just, you know, you don't want it to look like the corner cap's been replaced. But you and I know this corner cap's been replaced. And man, it looks factory. I'm so excited, I'm so happy. All right, I'm just gonna do a little small section here. All right, just did this little spot here. Obviously, we're gonna have to do some grinding, right, to take off the welds, but other than like a little pinhole here and there, we got a little porosity. We can come by and fix that. That's easy. We'll just a few more tack welds here and there. I mean, you can't tell where there's a perfectly smooth. Well, come take a look at it. I mean, it is perfectly smooth. As you can see, we do have a little bit of porosity in there. We got a little pinhole, you know, it's gonna happen. But we can come back through here, hit that with a little tack weld, a couple little tack welds into here, or we could even just a little schmutz of either JB weld or a little bit of Bondo. Can fill in that porosity. But as you can see, I mean, that's about as perfect as you're gonna get. You can see it down here because this is where we're getting back into the weld. I just ground down up here, so that's where you can kind of see that down there. But all the way down. Now, here's the plug welds on the inside. You can see, got a little hog-tastic with a couple of these, but most of them turned out pretty good. Same kind of thing, grind those down flat, bam, you'll never know they were there. The biggest thing is this seam right here between the quarter and the cap. I want to make sure that stays, that's kind of a, some people fill that in with Bondo because I like seeing that perfectly smooth. I like leaving that, I like seeing that seam to me. That to me, this is like an iconic part of the Scouts, you know, old school, kind of utilitarian. They're just, you know, pinch welded together, and there you go. I kind of like that. All right, like with anything, when it comes to paint, literally anything, it's all in the prep, right? It took me 25 minutes to get this lined up, right? And I started up here at the top. I made sure the two pieces were perfectly aligned. I put a tack weld. Then I moved over a 1/2 inch, made sure that was perfectly aligned, put a tack weld, moved over a 1/2 inch, and just did that all the way down. Once I started getting down here towards the bottom, she's a little difficult. I had to take the helmet off. I had to sit there and mess with it for a minute or two, get it just right where it needed to be, put the helmet back on, tack it, take the helmet back off, finagle with it, and I just keep doing that over and over again until I got it, you know, exactly the way I wanted it. But once it was perfect, perfectly aligned, there was no, you couldn't feel where one ended and the other began, and I had it tacked into place. It was being held. It wasn't going to go anywhere. Then I could just come back and weld. It was probably another 20, 25 minutes, and it was fully welded. Quick and easy. It's not difficult. I know you can do it. I have faith in you. But like I said, like these, a little bit of porosity here, yeah, you know, if it was something structural, I'd be worried, but you know, and we got a couple little pinholes here and there. We'll get all of this ground down. We'll find the 20 or 30 little pinholes that are left in there. We'll spot weld those little pinholes real quick, clean those up, maybe get in here where there's a little bit of porosity and weld those up a little bit, make it nice and smooth, and then we're good to go at that point in time. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. We successfully cut a corner cap off of a Scout and welded a new one on without removing a quarter panel. I'm really happy about that. It'd have been 10 times more work to pull a corner panel off because 4,000 welds. But we still have a lot. We still got a lot to do on this Scout, and that's okay. We're just gonna do it one step at a time. Drop a comment down below if you wanna watch me do that side. That side's got some carnage going on. This one just needed to be replaced. It was just a little dinged up. That side over there, the little subframe inside of here is all wadded up, and we're gonna have to do some hammering and all kinds of fun stuff with that. Also, because it's been like a month since I recorded, I did get all of the metal to fix the rockers. So we'll be diving back into that soon. But we're gonna take a little detour from the Scout. Even though I wasn't filming, I was still working hard. I was still thinking about you guys. Coming up, October 17th and 18th in Tucson, Arizona, we have the one and the only duct tape drags. And I've already signed up for it. I got a ticket. I'm gonna be there. I'm not gonna be there to watch. I'm gonna be there to compete. Yep, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna try to compete. So, you know, of course, the only reasonable thing to do is just go buy a car because this isn't gonna be ready. And I don't really know if I want to try to drag race this and do burnout competition with the old Scout. It's just kind of nice and it's just not really made for it. So I did the right thing and I went and bought a car. A car you've probably seen. I don't know. I don't know what YouTube channels you watch, but if you watch any of the big guys, you may have actually already seen this car. Yeah, I was able to pick up kind of a YouTube famous car. It's been seen by like 5 million people or something. But I'll get into that next week. I got some really big plans for that car, and I'm just gonna we're gonna hang it all out and we're gonna have a good time with it. No, we're throwing reason and all of it just out the window. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll be back next week. I promise. The summer's pretty much over and the jobs are slowing down. So we'll have time. But I'll be back next week. We're gonna keep going. We're not gonna be on this next week. Next week, we're gonna be on the surprise. And man, I am excited. And I think you guys are gonna be excited too. Thanks and have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful week.